Greg Bell, the News Tribune, here at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, where the Seahawks pulled their preseason exhibition opener out in the last play of the game. Trevone Boykin took the ball from his own 12 with 1:07 left. 4 plays later, 4 completions, 88 yards later, threw a jump ball to Tanner McAvoy, 6'6" wide receiver from Wisconsin, who was just a defensive back earlier in the offseason. McAvoy pulled it down over a defender with no time remaining on the clock. The Chiefs got a 12-man on the field penalty on defense during the ensuing 2-point conversion. And then Tremaine Pope ran the ball in from the 1-yard line for the winning 2 points. Seahawks win 17-16 here Saturday in the preseason opener. The takeaways: Boykin looked much more comfortable in the 2-minute offense, both at the end of the first half and the end of the second half when Pete Carroll brought him back in the fourth quarter after Jay Keeps went 3 of 13, the number 3 quarterback from Skyline High School outside Seattle. 3 of 13, 2 drops, one by McNeil over the middle. Didn't help his numbers. But Boykin ended up 12 of 22 for 188 yards. 122 of those yards came in the fourth quarter when Carroll brought him back in midway through the fourth quarter for 2 more drives to end the game. Carroll said that was the plan all along, was to bring Boykin in to finish up the game. He wanted him to come out at halftime and then again come in for the end of the game. The offensive line remains the story of this team until it gets set on 5 guys, and they're not set yet. Though Tom Cable after the game said he was very, very pleased how the starting offensive line went. It had Bradley Soule at left tackle. Mark Glowinski was the left guard. Justin Britt, his first NFL game as the center. The right guard was Jermaine Ifedi, and the right tackle was Gary Gilliam, the position he played all last season. Gilliam, of course, was the left tackle, as we mentioned, until this week when Jamarcus Webb got hurt, the presumed right tackle. Webb's status remains unknown for next week. It sounds to me like he's not going to play the Thursday night preseason game against Minnesota in Seattle either, which means today's starting lineup might be the same one that's going to be on Thursday night. Jermaine Ifedi had a great block on Christian Michael's 16-yard run on the game's first drive, the only drive Russell Wilson played. Ifedi drove his chief defender 4 yards off the ball. Michael told me after the game in the locker room it was a tremendous block. All he had to do was read the rear end of Ifedi, and he saw the opening and went 16 yards off the right side. That drive ended when Russell Wilson threw an interception in the end zone. He admitted it was a mistake. He was trying to throw the ball more toward the outside to Jermaine Kearse at the goal line. He threw a little too far inside. Marcus Peters, the former Washington Husky, made a really nice lunging interception of that. Then Boykin came in right after that. He ended up having 3 points with the starting offensive line. As I expected, the starting offensive line was the last of any of the starters on either team to stay in the game and play. They played all through the first half and before the second half was full of reserves. After game, Michael, 7 carries, 44 yards in pretty much 1 quarter of play. I asked Michael what impression he thought he left on the Seahawks, and he says that I do my job. He, quote, "I want these guys to trust me." They're trusting him a lot more than they did when they let him go a little bit past this time last year when they traded him pretty much for a bag of footballs to the Dallas Cowboys. So Michael's making the most of his opportunity. Tyvis Powell, the undrafted rookie from Ohio State, made a lot of his opportunity. On special teams, he had a peel-back block in the first quarter, completely leveling the Kansas City Chiefs in the open field. That sprung Tyler Lockett for a 16-yard return. Powell had an interception while playing safety on a deflected pass in the fourth quarter. Powell then went to right cornerback and made a couple plays there on the ball as well. He hustled downfield 60-some yards to down a punt at the opposite end zone here that John Ryan had boomed. Officials eventually ruled that Powell's foot was in the end zone when he batted it back, but still, those kind of hustle plays is what coaches will pay attention to and know. Tyvis Powell made a real strong case to making the team as an undrafted rookie. Tanner McAvoy, 6'6". Boykin said, of course I'm going to throw him the ball at 6'6". He made a mark as a tall, big receiver who, again, like many others in his situation, need to show on special teams. Wilson said he thinks the offensive line, the meshing and the togetherness is as good as it's been in any of the 5 preseasons he's had. Now, Cable said there were still some assignment errors. Pete Carroll mentioned that there were some assignment errors on key 3rd and 4th downs. He pointed as Boykin to having him in the wrong formation. Those are all things the coach's staff are not concerned about, calling it first preseason game typical errors. All in all, not a great start for the Seahawks, but a pretty crazy finish to go 88 yards in 67 seconds and to win it on the last play of regulation and then the 2-point conversion. Read my coverage all week long, all season long on thenewstribune.com. And we'll be home in training camp in Renton on Monday for resuming a practice and, as I mentioned, the exhibition game Thursday against Minnesota. Have a good weekend.